Chapter 2 New Gaia Ascension. Awakening. You are outgrowing that previously necessary cocoon, that safe place to bake, to ache, to create, that place removed, sometimes isolated, sometimes dark feeling void space. The void, though, is alive with your deaths and your rebirths. You've been surrendering to the process of being the transforming caterpillar until now. Tucked into the birthing space, sometimes gestating, sometimes thrashing, sometimes searching for a deeper and wider understanding, sometimes missing your previous familiar forms, shapes, and ways that were in the known. You are becoming more comfortable in the unknown and in the space where infinite possibilities pose no obvious limits. You are being created as you are creating the life and timeline that you most want and desire. The timeline shimmers like a mirage in the distance, yet it comes ever closer with every choice of love. With every choice to love and embrace even fear, even darkness, even densities, even differences. The timeline of your highest purpose to serve love comes closer with every shift of heart from compassion, comparison, to inspiration, from judgment to compassion, from taking to sharing, from polarization to unification. You are being created as your butterfly self to eventually emerge, to burst out of any kind of safety or limits, to always be growing. You are the metamorphosis into your rising sacred human in fleshy form. You are ready to be born. You are ready to spread your wings. Now you are ready to fly. New Gaia Ascension Process. These cycles of fragmentation lead to the exploration of denser realities coming out of or down from higher realities. This descension process, we could call it, has been a huge crucible of growth for the divine for many timelines now. We descended out of divine source into the archangels, then chose as a group to descend into the soul monads, and then to individuate into the metasoul. The metasoul descends into many expressions of itself, fragmenting off in similar fashion to the original divine source fragmentation. This includes expressing into our current self-experiencing 3D consciousness with its fragmented parts of self. So much is learned from this going downwards and moving outwards from divine source into denser realities of separation. This is a sacred cycle of descension from which all of our individual expressions and experiences originally birth out of and from. Yet, there is also the choice of ascension, which is to move from a denser consciousness reality up into a higher one again. This process of ascension is as natural as the descension process is to our souls. As we come out of divine source, so also we can always return. This awareness helps assuage the pain of the core wound of separation that lives in each of us. There are definitive challenges to ascension, however, as the veil of amnesia necessary to our descension has created a growing disconnection feeling sense from the divine. This disconnection grows as the vibrational frequency lowers, and this creates the very real experience of fear. This fear draws situations to our metasoul that lead to a deeper feeling of separation, unworthiness, and shame. To move out of this fear and back into love again is the process of ascension. Each of us can experience this as an individual and also at the collective level. There are souls who have undergone ascension in their lifetime, often very extended lifetime, such as Jesus, Babaji, Buddha, Siddhartha, Mary Magdalene, and Mother Mary as the prime examples. These souls eventually became ascended teachers when they passed out of their bodies, still offering models and templates, yet from a higher dimensional consciousness beyond the body. Their messages of love, unity consciousness, and freedom from suffering have largely been misinterpreted through the fear-based filtering of the mainstream religions, creating some significant distortion of their teachings. There is also the choice for a society and entire collective culture to ascend together. When this choice is offered, it is much more likely that many individuals can experience ascension as well during their lifetime. The collective supports the individual to awaken. Many planets in our galaxy have gone through the fragmentation into duality and polarity to then ascend back into higher oneness frequencies again as a collective. Individuals, such as the ascended masters mentioned above, have done this in their bodies as well, without the need to leave them. What occurs in our galaxy is a microcosm of the macrocosmic picture of original and ongoing fragmentation from the divine. Our galaxy, this beautiful Milky Way, is one of the playgrounds of the divine in which the grand experiment of both descension and ascension are actively playing out in many different timelines and eras. This awareness and awakening to our place in this galactic level play out is an important aspect of our ongoing awakening as human beings and of our ongoing ascension, along with our home planet, Earth. This is a time of great change and transition for our planet and for human beings as we go through this process of ascension as a species, upgrading from third-dimensional 3D consciousness into fourth-dimensional 4D and higher consciousness states on both collective and personal levels. This upgrading process is being led by our planetary Earth home, which is transitioning from the denser 3D consciousness of Earth and into her higher 4D and up planetary consciousness of Gaia. all 7.7 billion human inhabitants, and counting, are being invited to come along with Gaia and raise our collective consciousness to experience new Gaia, or new Earth reality. Third dimensional consciousness has been the dominant and prevailing one during our lifetimes and many timelines that are connected to the last 26,000 year cycle, a well-documented cycle where the wobble of the Earth's axis draws a counterclockwise circle in the heavens after the fall of Atlantis. Atlantis represents a higher consciousness community that eventually descended into lower consciousness. Hence, we see where the theologies of falling from grace originate from. The fall of Atlantis was influenced by a group of fear-based reptilian beings who encouraged the misuse of power, control, and shadow-based fear programming as connected to a 4D matrix AI artificial intelligence run control system. The priests and priestesses of Atlantis dropped in consciousness frequency to match these reptilians, as was their soul's choice to do so. This co-created the descent into 3D consciousness experience that we've been in ever since, during this timeline that extended out after Atlantis. Lemuria, or Mu, is a civilization and culture that existed during the same timeline period as Atlantis and much longer. Lemuria was a tribal and temple-based culture with strong roots and connections to Mother Gaia. Mu, which means motherland, remained mostly uninfluenced and peaceful, high vibrational, rather than falling under the influence of the reptilians. They did find themselves drawn into battles with the Atlanteans and used energetic weapons only when absolutely necessary. Yet eventually the Lemurians went underground when this misuse of magics created large earthquakes and tsunamis and corresponding flooding. The entire continent of Lemuria collapsed in a dramatic fall, with Atlantis falling a few hundred years later. Lemurians and some Atlanteans live today in Inner Earth, or Hollow Earth as it is also called, cities located under Mount Shasta, California, the Pacific Northwest, coastal BC, Canada, and other places. Some Lemurians have also come to the surface to become the ancestors of Native American, Hawaiian, Aboriginal, and First Nations people. These descendants of Inner Earth Lemurians don't usually have a conscious connection to their Lemurian family, yet their expression of more Gaia-centered spirituality, shamanistic healing approaches, Gaia-centered spirituality, shamanic healing approaches, focus on spiritual growth rather than material attainment, is a reflection of these Lemurian roots. The eventual re-emergence of the 5D consciousness-based Inner Earth Lemurians to the surface is a key aspect of the Ascension process. This will be possible when most of the surface inhabitants on Gaia vibrate at a fourth dimensional and higher frequency. The Inner Earth Lemurians will then be able to come back to the surface world to provide leadership and guidance to those living on the surface. Connection with the inner earth Lemurians is possible now for those vibrating at a high enough consciousness. This sometimes happens in the physical, yet is mostly possible through etheric visits in meditative states. None of the events around the fall of Atlantis or Lemuria are actually in the past, yet are still occurring in the quantum field of the now. Connecting with your metasoul aspect, still living through the fall of Atlantis, and your Lemurian metasoul living in inner earth and other timelines, can free up much karmic fear energy in your metasoul and on a collective quantum level. This can also connect you to a gift exchange energy transmission with them, where you can receive and merge into the energy of your metasoul consciousness that they hold. When your metasoul wants to experience more extreme, intense, and obvious polarities and dualities, it chooses 3D anchored timelines. Many soul monad groups have agreed to incarnate into this 3D consciousness timelines with each other in order to provide soul family support as they experience these denser realities. They agree and choose to be each other's birth families, friends, mates, or other roles. Sometimes you are able to transact at a higher dimensional frequency through the experience of being in relationship with a soul family member. Other times, it is a difficult and challenging crucible of growth, push-pull, and toxic patterns of relating. There is often strong resistance to the relationship, even as there is strong attraction. Here we see the soul agreement made prior to incarnation, holding sway over the pain of loss of connection in 3D. The higher self knows that ultimately no connection can actually be lost, as we are at the higher level all one. 3D is the felt experience of being in the deepest fog of forgetfulness about your connection to divine source. 3D life can be the literal survival of routine and habit, day in and day out experience of this survival for often entire lifetimes. Preservation of safety, security, and the physical body are the prime concerns. There is a fusion to 5 sense filtering as the only valid way to experience reality. There is little acknowledgement or sense of metaphysical realities beyond this. During this time of ascension on Gaia, we are being invited by the divine to move out of 3D anchored place of lower vibrational reality that is polarized and rooted in fear, and into a higher frequency consciousness anchored in trust and love. We are being invited to let go of an over-reliance on our minds for filtering all of our reality in a logical and rational way, and into deeper trusting of our intuition and higher senses. We are being invited to experience ourselves as sacred humans, moving out of fear and into love, as we remember who we are as a reflection of divine love. We are being invited to move into new Gaia as our home frequency, physically, emotionally, spiritually, energetically. New Gaia is about the re-emergence of the high vibrational society that we knew as Lemurians and Atlanteans, to live it again in the now. New Gaia reality, which I also call Golden Earth and also New Mu or New Lemuria, is about communal, cooperative, peaceful, and compassionate living in collaboration with all of Gaia's resources and with each other. New Gaia is the lessening of polarities around economic status, with more health and vitality for all beings in their human bodies, and the dissolution of our current money paradigm. It is also the completion of experiencing disparities such as poverty versus wealth, educated versus uneducated, gender inequality, prejudice, and racism. New Gaia is the remembering of our higher timeline metasoul and soul monad family realities integrated into our experience of everyday life. It is the emergence of Lemurian consciousness from inner earth to express in a collaborative way with those of us on the surface. It is the awakening of our galactic consciousness and being in conscious collaboration with our star families. It is the disclosure of these star being family support systems and receiving the gifts of technologies that can greatly help us heal and transform from the damages of 3D lifestyles, more like death styles. We are invited in this ascension phase to become new Gaians. As new Gaians, we are embodying our sacred humanity, and all four of the bodies that make up our structure are in harmony and union: emotional, spiritual, mental, and physical. We are in a state of emotional balance and maturity, no longer being triggered and reacting from unhealed traumas. We are in healthy, vital human bodies that are honored and cared for. As new Gaians, we are connected to our Divine Father and Divine Mother parents, and in communion with them, feeling their constant support and guidance. We are in mastery of our minds and mental capacities, in that all of our thoughts are oriented toward the light and toward love. We are in harmony with each other, joined together by resonant frequencies of soul purpose and service of love. Relationships are meaningful, transacting high vibrational frequencies of joy, intimacy, and goodwill. This is what I wrote about Ascension in my previous book, Bliss Mess: Wonders and Challenges of Ascension. We are shifting. We are awakening. We are evolving. We are becoming sacred humanity. We are currently in a phase of a major consciousness shift from what we have known as 5 sense-based life to much more expanded consciousness in response to all areas of our lives. 5 sense-based reality filters most of what we experience through a flattening lens of literalness, rationality, and practicality. The mind dominates mainstream culture, fueled by the unhealed, wounded masculine, or patriarchy. The wounded masculine shows up in relationships of all kinds and in all kinds of ways, and is a root cause of much suffering, pain, and violence, along with the wounded feminine. This age of reason and expression of the wounded masculine has been needed until it was no longer serving our deepening evolution as a species. The cutting edge of our evolution is about shifting our consciousness to include healing of the wounded masculine, a rising of the sacred feminine, healing of our emotional bodies and core shadow-based wounding, activation of our higher heart's capacities of compassion and creative intuition, and integration of metaphysical, esoteric, spiritual, energetic, and non-dualistic consciousness states into our experiences of everyday practical life. This shift has long been prophesized and energized as a timeline that would occur in this now, beginning in the 1960s and activating at particularly accelerated and deepening levels starting in 2012. Many of us have chosen to be here during this time to experience and serve this grand shift in consciousness for our own soul's growth and to contribute to the transformation of the collective too. We came here to be witnesses, active participants, leaders, teachers, students, and to give audience during this exciting, epic, and often tumultuous show of Ascension. There is a feeling sense as we enter this new cycle of more ease going forward to embrace what resonates with serving love and letting go of what doesn't serve love. The last 7 years between 2012 and 2019 have often felt like trudging through mud while your house is burning down. Massive amounts of bushwhacking as we go, laying a new trail down on sometimes unfriendly ground, and offering our growing truths about a possible new way of living and loving to often silent and unresponsive and even sometimes hostile rooms filled with people we used to resonate with. 2012 launched the accelerated ascension timeline that so many of us started to orient our lives to. In ways both big and small, we shifted our priorities and our choices toward this new Gaia ascension timeline. We dove into our emotional wounds, no longer okay with being traumatized, vibrating in fear, and the patterns of suffering loop behaviors that come from that. We swam into our soul's waters, wanting to experience the depths there, emerging out of the murkiness beyond the veil and into the light. These last 7 years have sometimes been spent in a closet in terms of outed expression during this exploration, undergoing the process of awakening in secret as regular life went on. You may have maintained relationships that didn't fit your awakening self in order to provide the safety and space in 3D to dive into the deeper soul waters. There are always soul agreements on the higher self level around this, both in terms of when to stay in relationship with others and when to complete and split apart for the growth of all. You may have had more tastes of your service of love self during these last 7 years, rather than full embodiment of this energy at all times. Tastes of experience of offering your soul gifts when it was safe and when you felt supported to do so. So many people have lived in two worlds during this last 7-year cycle, one where they are awakening and the other attached to 3D still. As we move into the new cycle, you may now really be experiencing that you can no longer do this. You can no longer span dissonant energies with resonant ones. You can no longer hide. You can no longer keep your crazy hidden from others that would judge it as such. You can no longer live life in secret, nor do you want to. This next cycle of ascension, moving into 2020 and beyond, is about becoming the outed, powerful expression of your authentic essence in all areas of your life. Ascension offers an internal shifting rather than a literal exoteric experience of going to heaven when dying and leaving the body, as offered in many religious pictures. The heaven is within, ultimately, and can be experienced in the now as increasingly higher vibrational frequencies of consciousness on all body levels, emotional, spiritual, social, physical, and mental, are activated within us. During ascension, we increasingly experience life as a heaven on earth, and ourselves as heavenly beings having a human experience. Ascension is a collective invitation, yet an individual experience. Each soul is invited to ascend in every moment and with every choice point. In some ways, it is as simple as feeling that ascension occurs on both collective and personal levels anytime we are choosing love over fear. The process of ascension is happening on a soul level to all souls, as it is natural, organic, and spring-loaded to occur for and to all of us. There are not just some special souls who are granted the gift of ascension. The degree and rate that the ascension process can be consciously experienced and deepened is dependent on what each soul has signed up for and where they are in their growth and awakening journey. Ultimately, though, none of us complete the ascension process until all of us complete the process. We are all one being, sacredly experiencing different and unique roles within humanity's ascension, with no fear of anyone being left behind. Rather than some grand sweeping moment where all souls are ascended into a blissful heaven because they qualify for it and are redeemed, ascension is actually an ongoing process available to all of us that is marked by highs and lows, ups and downs, struggles and triumphs, openings and closings. Ascension accepts that we are learning and growing, that we are purposefully choosing to forget our divine nature so that we could remember and be remembered with it again, and that ultimately we are not broken, not sinful, and do not need saving by anything or anyone outside of us, even if we choose to have guides and teachers during phases of our journey. It is a love-based process that respects our sovereign choices, even if they are coming from resistance and fear. Ascension is the process of moving inward, moving onward, and moving upward. The moving inward is about becoming inward focused rather than externally focused. Moving inward is about going within while in meditative states through therapeutic deep feeling-based senses of ourselves as we connect with and integrate different multi-dimensional aspects of ourselves, and through tracking what is happening inside of us and not just reacting to external triggers and situations. As we move inward, we become so much more aware of our internal world and see that what we experience outside of us is a reflection of the inside. Moving onward is healing beyond the traumas of our past experiences, both this life and from other lifetimes. Onward is to be in the now, the present moment, rather than constantly associating with or disassociating from previous situations and circumstances. Moving onward is feeling the root cause of our traumas, feeling them and healing them in order to transform the energies that are stuck in the past that are very accessible in the now, until they vibrate more in alignment with our essence. Onward means that we are no longer anchored to the past and to the experiences that we had then, with much more fluidity to let in the present. Moving upward is raising our consciousness frequency from 3D to transitional 4D to heavenly 5D and beyond. Upward is bridging to higher vibrational frequencies of love and light from within our human bodies and integrating those energies with our human hearts. Upward is our higher self coming into our body and therefore into our conscious awareness, eventually becoming our primary expression of self in the world. Upward is about experiencing heaven in the now and from within us, not as a place we go to when we die, yet rather something we can know right in this moment. Ascension is a labor process for humanity as a collective, as well as on an individual basis, with tightness, pain, and birth contractions, then bursts of joy, relief, soul bigness expression, and love. This is a messy process, as all births are. It can be like riding an edge of near devastating loss, while experiencing blissful, opening vistas of deepening love for self and with others. Letting go while you are letting in, and the seemingly paradoxical feelings that come up from the emotional body as this is navigated. Ascension is going into the bliss mess to emerge more and more whole, complete, and sacred. The bliss aspect comes from bringing in higher dimensional frequencies of love, unity consciousness, and joy. Tastes of unity consciousness remind us of the divine source we came from and how connected we were in thoughts, feelings, and ideas with each other. This sense of unity offers a balm to heal the wounds that come from being separated and isolated from each other, and in many ways from ourselves too. We also experience increasing unity with Divine Source, with the remembrance that we are a fractal from the Divine, and that we will eventually return to this state and can connect with this energy now through our higher selves. Ascension energies. With the accelerated phase of ascension toward new Gaia that began in 2012, a significant shift in the quality and quantity of photonic light available to us started to flood into Gaia from the great cosmic sun. This photonic light is streaming in to assist our body's transition from carbon-based cells to crystalline, which is a key component of moving into more 5D consciousness. We are moving into activation of our light bodies, which is a common thing to call it. Many more awakening souls are becoming aware and interested in how these ascension energies are impacting them on emotional, physical, spiritual, and mental levels. These energies are coming in to activate our previously sleepy strands of DNA, which were put to sleep as an aspect of the veil and descension into 3D. We will go from using 2 strands of DNA currently as 3D anchored humans to eventually using all 12 and beyond as we express again our sacred humanity. The 10 lost strands of our DNA that were previously active before the fall of Atlantis and Lemuria, that have been labeled junk DNA by 3D science, are being activated back into use by these ascension energies. An important aspect of our ascension process is the reactivation of our galactic DNA that forms a bridge to our star family genetics and to the expression of our star being DNA. The great cosmic sun is one of the download sources from the divine into our galaxy that brings in divine masculine father energies of activation. The main way these upgrading energies are provided is through our sun and solar activities such as solar flares, geomagnetic storms and high solar winds, coronal mass ejections, and more. Receiving energy downloads through the sun is a universal experience in which all of life on Gaia is dependent and biologically receptive. The degree and depth that we can receive these upgrades from the sun is connected to our personal awakening process. Our sun provides important sacred masculine activations to us that offer a boost and healing to our healthy masculine energies of clarity, right action, and service of love. Healing of the wounded masculine is an important aspect of ascension for both women and men. The great cosmic sun is the upline for these codes, which are then delivered through our sun and downloaded into our personal sun chakra or stellar gateway. This is one of the ascension chakras located about 2 feet above the top of your head, or crown chakra. The next one is the soul star chakra, connecting you to your metasoul and other lifetimes. The final one is behind your head and called the causal chakra. This one is a bridge to galactic connections, star family, and your reptilian self. The ascension chakras serve as upgrades beyond the 3D, 4D energy symptoms of the 7 chakras. The ascension chakras serve as upgrades beyond the 3D, 4D energy systems of the 7 chakras. The ascension chakras serve as upgrades beyond the 3D, 4D energy systems of the 7 chakras. Ultimately, as we move more into a 5D light body, our chakras become a swirling and churning ray of energies without much distinct definition. Codes are frequencies of sacred human upgrades from the divine and our higher selves to assist and support our ongoing ascension process. Codes can appear in the form of sacred geometry, images, visions, number sequences. Codes come to us in many ways, yet codes that are delivered to us through the sun are the most accessible, universal, and able to be received on a collective level by all souls to whatever degree they can let them in. We are in a solar minimum phase, which means very low sunspot activity that is a normal part of an 11-year sunspot cycle expected to end in 2025. Solar energy hasn't been offered as much through solar flares and coronal mass ejections, although we have had a few of those. The main downloads and activations have come through high-speed solar winds, up to 700 km seconds at times, as energy streams in from ever-growing coronal holes to make us whole on the sun's surface. These winds are becoming much more common, often sparking beautiful and vibrant auroras in the higher altitudes. The auroras themselves also contain important activations as a bridge of the cosmic to the physical, whether taken in etherically or in person. And rather than being afraid of ultraviolet exposure and the sun, as we have been conditioned to be in 3D, we are remembering now how vital the sun is as a resource for us and our ongoing consciousness expansion. Letting in the photonic light sun codes and the prana, life force energy they contain is actually food for our light body, especially accessible and comfortable at sunrise and sunset. The sun will be an increasing source of awakening as we proceed forward in the ascension process, with many people feeling that a significant solar flare or CME energy wave, often felt as a rainbow wave, will be the event that moves us all up to a higher consciousness level at once. I have been offered that ascension is more of a gradual process, led in by each soul at their own rate and pace, rather than a one-time event that changes all of collective consciousness at once. And there's no question, though, that the sun is shifting and changing as a planetary consciousness and is a major source of awakening energies for us. Common experiences with solar activations on the physical body are disrupted sleep patterns, bringing tiredness or frantic thinking, along with more dense feelings of 3D as it gets pushed up to be felt and released. High-speed winds can also create an off-balance feeling as the geomagnetics increase, putting us off-center. Emotions of irritation, rage, distrust, and anxiety can be triggered by the sacred masculine solar activations too, as the wounded masculine flushes up and out to be felt and healed. Sometimes the winds can lead to the thinning of veils between timelines and more multidimensional access and timelines bleeding through. Assistance in letting in the solar energies comes from connection with your inner masculine in order to receive and let in the sacred masculine activations from the sun. You can do that through identification of your inner protector and other masculine energies of your 3D and 4D self, creating an inner sacred union, bringing feminine and masculine energies into balance. It also helps to activate and clean your personal sun chakra in order to allow the flow of sun codes into and through your field. Another way that we receive upgrading energies is through divine feminine mother lunar cycles of full and new moons to allow for integration, to counterbalance all this solar sacred masculine activity are the steady and reliable phases of the moon, offering divine feminine frequencies of receiving, letting in, digestion, and integration of all these activations. These energies also illuminate what is in shadow within your emotional body and subconscious and metasoul as well. In many timelines, cultures connect consciously and deeply to the moon, creating ceremonies around the lunar cycles and honoring her capacities for illuminating shadow, holding space for integration, and providing stillness energies to go within. Lunar energies have been amplified in this new ascension cycle, with increasing awareness growing in many more souls about her impact on our consciousness. Full moons offer an amplification of these divine feminine energies. This can lead to an intensification of especially the death phase of death and rebirth. Completions and letting go, especially of relationships, are served by and catalyzed by full moons. Supermoons, in which the moon is closer to Gaia's orbit, amplify these energies even more. Lunar and solar eclipses are powerful events that offer unification of collective consciousness, opening out reverence and wonder. As many souls tune into them, especially total solar or lunar eclipses, the field of unity consciousness expands and is able to receive more of the codes being offered. Each eclipse seems to offer its own energy frequency that you can tune into, and many awakening souls feel them as a marker for next level phases of growth, awakening, and transitions in their journeys. Gaia also provides energy upgrades through her resonance frequency or heartbeat. Until the last few years, the resonance frequency of our planet hovered around 7.83 hertz. It is now common for Gaia's frequency, named and measured as Schumann waves, to come in at an amplitude of 40 hertz and even spike up to 110 hertz at times. Gaia helps us to ground these activations into our human bodies, a crucial aspect of digestion and calibration. This shift in Gaia's frequency shows the consciousness shift in her planetary consciousness, and also in the collective within those souls that are leading the way on ascension. These spikes in Gaia's resonance seem to correlate to the rise in humanity's overall consciousness frequency and brainwave activity. Tracking the Schumann resonance and noticing body symptoms connected with it and the opportunities that these spikes offer can be a key aspect of integration for our ongoing ascension process. I have been guided, especially in the last couple of years, to track and share about the Schumann resonance, as many sensitive souls are keyed into and impacted by these waves and spikes. Common experiences with an elevated Gaia frequency are feeling ungrounded, here but not here, multidimensional openings, timeline bleed-throughs, and suspended or missing time. Head, neck, and shoulder pain is also common with elevated Gaia resonance, which seems to trigger activation of the causal chakra at the back of the head. Inner hollow earth activities and technologies are impacting the Gaia resonance frequency, which created the strange earth ringing like a bell phenomenon that occurred on November 11th, 2018, and the increase in often unexplainable seismic activity as well. These things are being done to raise the collective consciousness, which so needs the support and help to continue to move out of 3D density conditioning and anchoring. Assistance with letting in the elevated Gaia codes comes from grounding the energies into all of your chakras. Important also is emotional body healing, purging, and releasing of trauma from both this life and other lifetimes, as we'll go into in more depth in this book. Trauma creates a fear-based density vibration that makes it more difficult for you to receive ascension energy upgrades. And even though linear time is not real in a higher dimensional sense, our human consciousness places a meaning on repeating number sequences. Repeating numbers offered through gateways, synced to specific dates on our calendar, such as 55, 77, 88, and 1111, contain waveforms that activate our consciousness, providing often very needed upgrades and activations. Our star families also align to these gateways as well, providing a galactic and cosmic connection to activate our sleepy DNA, pineal and pituitary glands, and 5D anchored and higher light bodies. Each of these gateways offers specific energies and codes personalized for you, based on what your current phase of ascension is and what your higher self and star family feel that you most need. Lion's Gate on 8/8 seems the most potent one, with a strong feeling of Ascension Christmas on that day, and the days surrounding and following it, with many downloads and soul clarities coming through during this time. The solstices and equinoxes also offer waves of activations connected to the seasonal energies of Gaia and the collective consciousness as well. Experiences of these gateways, equinoxes, solstices can vary depending on which one and what you are meant to receive from them. There's often a sense of receiving soul-based clarities, higher timeline experiences, and visions, and easier access to soul gifts. They can also provide a purging opportunity for your light body, with necessary detox and cleansing happening. The methods of delivery of ascension energies and photonic light may be distinctive, yet the overall purpose of these energies is universal. The purpose is to raise our consciousness frequency, to further the process of ascension, to move out of 3D fear-based timelines and into higher ones. Even if these energies push up uncomfortable and even painful things for us on the physical and emotional levels, they are meant for the greater good, both individually and collectively. Even just tapping into this trust and the intention of them can help with the navigation and integration of them. Assistance in letting in the energies during these gateways is to connect with the codes directly through meditation. Ask your guides, higher self, metasoul aspects to provide you with what you most need during these gateways. Be open, surrender, and trust in the receiving as you feel whatever fears and resistances come up connected to whatever part of you is feeling it. All of these upgrading, uplifting, and activating energies are being provided in order to facilitate our shift from 3D to higher consciousness states of 5D. All of these energies are being offered by the divine to accelerate our ascension. Tuning into and calibrating yourself to universal and celestial energies, such as those that come through the sun, moon, and Gaia during specific gateways and portal openings, allows for a personal experience of these activations and integrations. There is so much potential in the human expression in our current timeline. It is our sacred human capacity that is being activated in each of us during this ascension process, from a cellular level to a metasoul integration level. It is an ongoing process that has both limitless depth and breadth to it, in which the divine plays witness and collaborative helper when it is asked for and needed by us, its sacred human offspring. The 3D matrix and the disclosure process. Re-anchoring out of the 3D matrix is also going on during the ascension process, especially during this time of accelerating energy shifts and influxes since 2012. We are being invited to re-anchor into higher vibrational frequencies and higher consciousness states of New Earth, into 4D transitional consciousness and away from the 3D matrix, which has anchored us into its projected and co-created reality of unconscious duality for tens of thousands of years, since Atlantis fell. The matrix itself is not a bad thing. In fact, matrix means womb, a container that holds life, something within or from which something else originates, develops, or takes form. We need matrices in the lower dimensions in order to birth out of that which holds our expression until our consciousness is porous enough and energy frequency to no longer require it. In some ways, the divine then becomes our matrix again as we re-anchor into divine frequencies as our sacred human expression. The 3D matrix dissolving as it is in the now with love drops people then into their own native soul-expressing frequency and into the discovery of what that actually is outside of the 3D collective vibe. The matrix has created a sense of unity consciousness in one way, represented by the mainstream consciousness reality. Yet, the 3D matrix has the lower vibrational agenda of modulation, conforming, control, and following the rules, laws, dogma, policies, and regulations. The 3D matrix runs on fear-based frequencies of avoiding rejection, unfelt abandonment, and unworthiness wounding, power over others, and codependence. The matrix gets its shape and form through conformity and fitting in by every soul who agrees to live in the 3D experiment. It is a powerful creation because all beings on Gaia during this last phase of consciousness expression, and even those transcending beyond it, have contributed to its existence. As souls, we all agreed to the collaborative genesis and maintenance of this matrix, as it helped with the 3D experiment that we all felt was an important one on a soul level to purge out and reveal the shadow in our collective consciousness and unconsciousness. And so it has been important, as we have learned much during it and are continuing to learn so much as it is dissolving. The 3D matrix has been a kind of hologram created by our souls for our 3D metasoul aspects and us in this current lifetime to live in and plug into as we explore our duality and polarity in this density that isn't native to us on a metasoul level. This is also why there are feelings of a loss of home for parts of us as we ascend, even triggering the soul's original separation wound, as we truly leaving behind what has been home. The 3D matrix is being disclosed to many more souls who, in the knowledge of it, can then become free from it. In the bigger soul picture, this 3D matrix has been chosen by all souls who experience it as a way to immerse more fully into the 3D dualistic experiment. In this way, no soul is a true victim or a prisoner of this matrix, as the remembrance of our free will is what releases us from it. This 3D matrix hologram is becoming more obsolete, no longer needed, and hugely limiting to the embodiment of our soul frequencies into our bodies and emotional bodies as we awaken. The human species in this current 21st century Earth timeline is now ready to be without this 3D matrix. The collective emotional body is ready to be healed consciously through the receiving of love frequencies to transform the stuck and blocked places of traumatized fear into love. 4D galactic beings, commonly called archons and Anunnaki, have collaborated and agreed to play the role of suppressor and enforcers of this 3D matrix from the 4D level. The archons, who have also asked to be called the programmers or the architects, have also now grown beyond this role of controlling us through the 3D matrix on the leading edge of their consciousness. They are similar to us at a collective choice point of choosing love over fear, letting in forgiveness from the divine for the part they played in creating and keeping the 3D matrix in place. They were actually just fulfilling a role representing the dark in the bigger dissension polarity play-out experiment. There's also been a group of dark, fear-polarized humans in alliance with the archons that have been running government, entertainment, banking, pharmaceutical, and educational industries, corporations, and much more from a place of shadow motivation, commonly called the Cabal or Deep State or Illuminati or Power Elite. Disclosure of these fear-based groups is coming out now as the collective is ready to see, reconcile, and ultimately forgive their actions. As more of their actions come to light, especially ritualistic and perpetual sexual abuse and even energetic feeding off of children, this will bring up deeply polarized feelings in all of us to process and digest. This offers the opportunity for us to feel in our own metasoul where we have been the victim, the perpetrator, and why our metasoul has chosen these roles to play in the bigger picture of our soul's evolution. This disclosure process of the Cabal and its activities through exposure of an increasing number of individuals and organizations that have been part of it is an important aspect of the ascension of 3D consciousness into 4D consciousness. 3D consciousness and the 3D matrix allow for secrets to be kept and shadows to remain hidden. The revelation and illumination of the shadow is possible as more light comes into Gaia and into each of our hearts and souls through connection to her. Motives and actions cannot be so easily hidden in 4D consciousness, and all is ultimately revealed. As 3D consciousness is faced with these dark realities that were previously screened out of awareness, the resulting abhorrence reaction is a sacred part of the propulsion necessary to move along the ascension process. Each soul will need their own reaction chamber in whatever way, shape, and form that unfolds for them. The current disclosure process we are undergoing is a difficult phase of ascension, as it is an expression of peak fear in both response to it and in expression of it. This phase invites us to see beyond what can look like fairly hopeless, devastating, and unredeemable situations to the bigger picture of our ongoing ascension. Disclosure pushes up the parts of us that may feel great outrage, a sense of injustice, and distrust in authority. Again, these are all important things to feel, yet not to become fused to in the sense of them taking over our expression so we can't see the bigger picture. The bigger picture of divine purpose around all of it is more possible to download and believe in as we no longer anchor into the 3D matrix that runs the program of end times and doom and gloom and impending collapse of civilization, which are actually all frequencies of undigested trauma from the fall of Lemuria and Atlantis. It took me a while to get this distinction during my phase of waking up out of the 3D matrix. I felt that with all of the information I was now learning about the true corruption and negative agenda behind it all, there was no way modern civilization could survive and exist much longer. The case being made by some people for near-term human extinction looked all too credible. When I eventually woke up to and connected with my galactic DNA and star family, then I could see how much assistance and support is available to us to move us out of this phase safely. And once I could see the bigger picture of ascension, I realized that the energy frequencies of Gaia herself would no longer allow these denser energies of self-annihilation of ourselves as a species to exist at some point. The current phase of disclosure is also challenging because it invites us to wake up to violence in all its expressions within the 3D matrix. It invites us to go beyond what has been conditioned to be acceptable and really see and finally feel our contributions to it. This includes the apparent environmental devastation of Gaia, the slaughtering of so many animals in completely compassionless ways, the ongoing battles and wars occurring all over our planet, the perpetual violence against women in violent sexual acts, the trafficking and sexual torture of children, and many other ways. This is waking up to feel the cries of the world, as Mother Mary and Kuan Yin have offered to me. To wake up to the cries of the world, women, children especially, is not an easy process. Sometimes you feel like your heart will literally break as you digest all of the cruelty and brutality that is going on every second on our planet. As you draw resources to you, such as documentaries, writings, messengers that open you up to this reality, you may feel like you will explode with all of the outrage that can come up in response to it. Again, this invites you to feel how to be aware of the cries of the world with open-hearted compassion without creating more polarity by being angry, bitter, and resentful toward it. Moving into compassion and forgiveness is one of the key ways to become unanchored from the 3D matrix. It's as if you rise above the consciousness that it projects. You can now see it, feel it, and no longer become one of the contributors, creators, and players in it. As we no longer anchor into the 3D matrix, there's this collective floating feeling as each individual soul finds their new bearings inside of themselves rather than outside of themselves. This can feel like a disconcerting void space for many people and push up an acute sense of lost identity to be unplugged from the 3D matrix. Some souls will be slower, stubborn, or even outright refuse to re-anchor into themselves and into a higher vibrational frequency of empowerment during this current timeline. They will continue to create a matrix from inside of themselves, pulling from their unhealed emotional bodies and undigested 4D frequencies of karma from their metasoul lifetimes as well. The hellish aspects of the 3D matrix will still be a reality for these souls, as they are choosing for them to be from a place of free will. They remain plugged in completely by their own free will choice on a 3D level, and of course on a higher self level too. These 3D selves will continue to manifest body illness, disease, toxic relationship patterns, suffering loops, intense feeling states of anxiety, depression, rage, whatever they need to continue to grow and learn. It will become increasingly uncomfortable for them to be at this lower 3D frequency and remain on Gaia, so they will most likely leave their body eventually, with their metasoul having sovereignly learned what it came here to learn. It is also offered by many channelers and teachers that these souls will be teleported to other 3D anchored planets to finish out the experience of their learning there. Some feel this will be like the Christian rapture in reverse, meaning instead of souls ascending to heaven and leaving the planet, 3D souls will leave to go to denser planets. And I have been offered that this teleportation is less of a literal occurrence and more of an etheric one as the current incarnation leaves the physical body. So in their next incarnation, they may then choose to experience 3D reality again for growth reasons. Yet by then, Gaia will no longer be an option for that 3D experience. There is also the offering by some that Gaia will experience a bifurcation process during ongoing ascension. Bifurcation is the point of the process in which one point or area divides into two branches or parts. The offering is that essentially two timelines are created as the consciousness energies on Gaia become more divergent from each other. Those at 3D frequencies will create their own timeline split apart from those in a higher frequency. New Gaia timeline. There is more to it than this, and many resources online offer more about the process, which feels like a possible outcome. For those of us who are re-anchoring already in a conscious way to higher vibrations, we will flow along with the 3D matrix-free Gaia as she moves up in frequency. It will feel like a relief to be freed from the 3D matrix, even as it will bring up feelings of being in a void space or in-between place at times. As the 3D matrix hologram continues to dissolve and more souls unplug from it, this is like another layer of the collective veil of amnesia lifting. As the pretend and limiting world of 3D falls away, this reveals a whole new, transparent, multidimensional reality that embraces and is created by what can be perceived and experienced beyond the 5 senses. An important aspect of the unanchoring from the 3D matrix is the ongoing process, both collective and personal, of deaths and rebirths, the dark nights and the light day awakenings, the deconditionings and the reconditionings too, and the shedding and molting off of so many layers of persona and personality masks. This re-anchoring into self is the process of discovering with honesty what has been created to fit into the matrix and what is more authentically you from the perspective of your essence. It's like you've created a character to perform in a play, and through awakening, you are discovering what really is your authentic expression outside of and beyond this performance. This unanchoring process is about saying no to very many previous beloved ways of being in the 3D matrix world in order to say yes to the unknown, new way that is based in love. It is the process of letting go of 3D anchors that are outside of you in all areas of life so that you can anchor inside of you. It is about transforming the traumas that live in parts of you into love. In this phase, you discover and feel yourself as a fractal from divine source and as the divine, both, and let go of the outside of self God picture as offered by 3D and 4D religions. Ascension energies are inviting us to shift away from anchoring into the matrix outside of us, into another person, culture, or persons, cultures, and beliefs, and instead to anchor into ourselves and to the divine as a source experienced from within us. And as you help parts of you drop anchors to 3D life through healing the trauma connected to them, your soul is freed up, your heart is opened up, your mind is expanded up, and your body is lightened up too. The 4D matrix. As the 3D matrix disintegrates, we can then see and feel more palpably the lower 4D matrix that exists at an etheric and astral level. We can call the lower 4D matrix the 4D matrix, as no matrices of control exist once you move into upper 4D, 5D, and higher consciousness states. There's no need for the creation of a constructed womb space beyond upper 4D consciousness, as more of the soul's frequencies of self-empowerment in flow with unity consciousness are being embodied. Also, there is no longer the denser, undigested trauma frequencies that serve as the glue to keep a control matrix together. And the 4D matrix is created by our metasouls as a place to store archetypal energies and the karmic playouts and patterns from these energies. It is what has been called the collective unconscious, whereas the 3D matrix is the collective consciousness, or mainstream consciousness. The 4D matrix has been unconscious to us and previously hidden behind a very thick veil of amnesia, whereas the 3D matrix has been a conscious creation that projects into our physical reality and becomes life as we know it. Archetypes are generated from the 4D matrix as universal, archaic patterns and images that come from the collective unconscious. They are inherited potentials and programs from our metasoul's unhealed experiences. Archetypes are actualized and lived out in our 3D worlds when they enter our consciousness as images and stories and myths. These can also manifest in our behaviors, choices, and even personality expressions. Archetypes such as the magician, the sage, the hero, the outlaw, the explorer, the king and queen, the tyrant, the warrior, the priest and priestess, and many others have provided a template of behavior and expression to follow in both 3D and 4D based timelines. Yet, as we awaken and our veil of amnesia lifts, archetypes are no longer needed, and we express our sacred human frequencies beyond the previously limiting boxes of them. It's as if we no longer need the handrails provided by archetypes and can explore brand new frequencies of our expression. The archetypes themselves have a pool of unhealed trauma within them, which is one of the glues that holds the 4D matrix in place. As we heal this trauma through connection with our metasoul aspects, living out these often torturous realities, the archetypes are freed from holding these fear vibrations any longer. They then dissolve from the 4D matrix, freeing up all of us from having to create them and conform to them any longer. There comes a phase in awakening beyond the 3D and 4D matrix when you no longer need to seek an outside source to guide you or remind you of what the sacred mysteries are. You no longer need to attend someone else's school of mysteries around this. You don't need, even as you might enjoy them as a mirror, the channeled messages from other sources, as you are connected to your own sources, aspects, and guides from your metasoul and star family. You remember your soul's wisdoms and gifts as you download directly with it through connection with your gatekeeper aspect, allowing your veil of amnesia to gradually lift. What has previously been a mystery becomes clear again. What has previously been in shadow comes into the light. What has been subconscious or unconscious becomes conscious. Both traumas and gifts that your metasoul has experienced become accessible and available for healing. Some of what is presented as mystery school teachings these days on Gaia is still filtering through an outdated model of spiritual teaching anchored to many fear-based timelines and to the 4D matrix. The 4D matrix is still running on the fumes of more polarized energies of good versus evil. It can project an energy of false light from it, in which the messages sound loving and have the right words, yet the energy behind them doesn't match the sentiments. There is this sense in the 4D matrix that there is something to battle and protect yourself from. Spiritual warfare realities are programs from the 4D matrix, the sense of battling the dark on behalf of the light, or being any kind of warrior for the light. These lower 4D spiritual battleground realities projected by the 4D matrix are very real to your metasoul aspects that are experiencing them and your gatekeeper aspect that is guarding access to them. These meta sisters and brothers of yours may be trapped in often very traumatizing timeline experiences of cultic groups, artificial intelligence, one mind, mind control, narcissistic, controlling, manipulative leaders, and more. Some of the timelines that are more anchored to the 3D and the lower 4D matrices are ancient Egypt, ancient Greece, the Dark and Middle Ages, Avalon and Camelot, Atlantis during the fall, some Draco reptilian, some Orion beings, and many others. If you have metasoul aspects in other timelines that are stuck in deep programming that keeps them in places of suffering loops, of unworthiness, judgment and shame, abandonment, separation from the divine, then their suffering may be bleeding into your reality in this life. These timeline bleed-throughs from other lives often lead to being drawn to these very same lower 4D energies playing out in your current timeline. This can show up in narcissist, empath, toxic relationship patterns in birth family members, romantic relationships, and especially in spiritual communities and groups. The narcissist empath relationship is a forming archetype in the lower 4D matrix, created by the labeling of it in our modern era by so many of those looking for relief and recovery from it. It is a relationship that is actually a reflection on a higher level of two soul family members who have agreed to play these roles with each other, and often leads to great learning, even if painful to experience. It also offers a mirror for empaths to identify the shadow aspect in themselves from this life or from other lifetimes, their inner narcissist, that the outer one is reflecting to them in order to heal it. Spiritual communities often formed around a charismatic leader are increasingly becoming another way that souls are experiencing a recapitulation of the lower 4D energies in order to become aware of the 4D matrix. This experience of 4D anchored spirituality is needed by all the souls involved until it isn't anymore. Some souls also need to be activists and truth tellers about these lower 4D realities and the corruption, manipulation, distortion of the leaders within them. Waking up out of the 4D matrix is often a painful process of dawning realizations, growing clarities, and necessary advocating for your worth, your goodness, and your right to be treated with respect, sovereignty, and equality. It needs to be led by each individual soul, and you can't really save someone from the experience of the 4D mess hell states while they are needing to be in them. This 4D matrix unplugging is often challenging because of how many timelines your metasoul is experiencing this process on, and also because the 3D collective is going through this too, yet without consciousness about it for most souls. The fogs and veils of amnesia are still very thick for many people. The 4D matrix can be quite sticky in this way. It can be difficult to extract yourself from consciously due to how deeply unconscious the entanglement is collectively from other lifetimes and with other soul family members too, in contracts and agreements that feel very binding. Connecting with your higher self, your star family, in higher dimensional timelines, the Divine Mother and Divine Father directly and personally offers a bridge out of 3D and 4D matrix realities. Healing the trauma from karmic cycles and patterns from this life and other lifetimes frees you up, especially from the 4D matrix. You can connect directly with your metas in these 4D timelines and help them to unplug, escape, and shift their timelines into higher vibe frequencies. This is a more direct and deeper way to heal the karmic wounds rather than just studying and learning about these timelines or receiving readings from others about these timelines and lifetimes. As you experience yourself as the divine spark that you are, and the infinite love that you will eventually return to flows through more, you can separate and defuse from these matrices of control. They have served a purpose of offering polarized experience, yet you've now, finally, outgrown them from your soul's perspective. Many more souls are now ready to move into total sovereignty and free will expression. The new anchors beyond the matrices do not weigh you down, yet rather invite you to let in. They offer grounding for you, yet they do not limit or consciousness or cap it in any way. I received this message below from my higher self in the divine that helped put this matrix reality into a higher perspective for me. This is one of the most popular messages that I have shared, and it was coming in on waves of love that hopefully you can receive into your heart in this now as well. All that you experience in life is given in love, held by love, for love. This is a powerful mantra to take in and live by. Feel the parts of you, such as the inner protector and inner punisher, that feel life is against them. You could offer these messages to them from your higher self, 5D, sacred human, divine self. Life is not doing anything to you, yet rather is with you in this experience of growth. You are not cursed. You have not been abandoned by the divine. You are not being tested to earn the divine's graces and love. All of it that you've experienced is a gift for your growth. Your higher self and metasoul has orchestrated and planned with much love what you will experience here in 3D. Choosing to be here now during this time of transition and shifting to 4D and beyond in the human body is a brave choice. To contribute to the Ascension movement at this time is not a sentence or punishment, yet rather a sign of the strength of your soul and proof of your bigness. Gaia is not a prison planet in the sense that you have no choice in being here and no escape, in the sense that other fear-based beings have captured you and you are stuck in the matrix that was necessarily created for the experiment into duality and polarity to succeed. It is actually an honor to be incarnated on Gaia at this time of such great transition, and many souls were eager to experience the quantum growth and completion of soul cycles and patterns that is now possible. You volunteered to be here at this time when you would most be needed. This has all been in collaboration on the higher levels and for many lifetimes set up to come together in this now. Higher vibrational frequencies of love and oneness have been purposely suppressed. Contrary feeling senses of fear have been amped up and polarized. This was chosen not to enslave you, yet rather so that you may come to remember again that you have always been free. Your higher self has given you much support to be here in this challenging experiment and experience. This support is within you. This support is available through soul family bonds. This support is available through your star family. This support becomes accessible as you awaken to your metasoul expressions and many timelines, which your higher self has projected out. Meeting, reconciling karma, sharing gifts together with these other lifetime selves, not past lives per se, as they are in the now. This brings you into more sense of wholeness again and unification. This grows your 5D sacred human self that is embodying and integrating these higher frequencies as you are unanchoring from 3D realities by healing the wounding and traumas that parts of your fragmented 3D self have experienced during it. As you heal these traumas, you no longer draw traumatic life situations to push up and trigger your undigested feelings. There can be the completion of experiencing spiritual battles going on for your soul, or good against evil, or light against the dark, or vice versa. All such battles cease to be in your reality when you love the energies inside yourself and your metasoul that are polarized to each other. When you love the dark, the reptilian, the narcissist, the abuser and predator, whatever is seen and been in shadow, then it can transmute to light and its true essence as love. Battling anything on the outside stems from unreconciled violence inside and a lack of trust that it all comes from love ultimately and will return there. You can invite the dark to transmute to love with love. This invitation leads to reconciliation, to integration, to transformation. Battling, inside or out, doesn't transmute back to love as someone always loses in some form, even as they gain in a higher sense from the experience. Yet there is a cost of harm being done or experienced. All that you experience in life is given in love, held by love, and for love. And so it can be as parts of you experience and trust this more and more from within you. Love your higher self and the divine. Collapse of 3D, 4D matrix during the 2020 coronavirus COVID-19 event. This is a writing that I shared during the COVID-19 event that I mentioned in the beginning of this book, which I'm feeling is offering a significant collapsing of the 3D, 4D matrix system. This really is a momentous time in humanity's experience of falling into deep densities of 3D duality and polarity to ascend again into our unity consciousness. This phase started in February 2020, feels like the disclosure and revelation that needs to happen in order to wake up more souls into awareness of the enslavement and control systems that have been in place for so long. The phase of awareness, knowing, and learning is an important one, and each soul goes through that in their own ways. Some souls respond readily to facts and proof. Others follow their intuition and gut knowing to discover the truth. Others need to see action and take action. This waking up phase was always going to be messy. Clashes of opinions and perspectives, power struggles from those not wanting to lose control, being challenged finally by those who had so long been suppressed, peaks of control and manipulation so that the necessary rebellion would finally spark. It seems that we are at this time of peak New World Order, cabal, deep state, elites agenda of population mind control through the mainstream media and medicine being implemented during this supposedly necessary quarantine and pandemic. At the same time, this previously hidden agenda is being more and more revealed and resisted. The Q Alliance movement has been blowing on the sparks of this revelation and rebellion, coming still from a polarized good versus evil energy, yet providing a necessary fuel for the death and rebirth process to ignite. This revelation seems to be possible because of the 3D matrix collapse and detox that is going on right now in spring of 2020 in this previously unprecedented way in our modern society. With most of the world shut down from the usual 3D routines of work, eat, sleep, repeat, there is more time for learning, for seeking, for feeling and processing the stages of grief, and for rebelling. There is more time for awakening. Rebellion is a necessary phase of this awakening too. Rebellion is personal truth and sovereignty being accessed and a no being declared to the energies that have previously controlled and manipulated and enslaved. The seeds of rebellion often exist in our inner teenager, who received invalidation rather than initiation into their soul frequencies. So their rebellion against the 3D conditioning and programming wasn't able to express. This rebellion happens on a 3D and 4D level as necessary, because these are the dimensions where duality of victim, tyrant, savior experience are even possible. During this revelation and rebellion phase, many souls will go against each other, take sides, create enemies to fight and battle against, be one of the good guys or one of the bad guys. If their consciousness is still anchored to this duality, then they need to do this, moving into the polarity in order to emerge out the other side of it in a more neutral, compassionate, and non-charged place. On a higher soul level, there aren't any real bad guys or evil, as all of it is of the divine and returns the divine. Yet the experience of being harmed and of fear is real in the lower dimensions for the parts of us and soul aspects that need to be felt, digested, and cleared in a validating and compassionate way. This revelation and rebellion are also possible because of a seemingly significant collapse in the Archon AI 4D matrix. This 4D matrix has required the enslavement of many reptilians to entwine with their human counterparts in order to keep it operational. The reptilian is used as a battery or power source to project the 3D matrix reality to and through the human, and sometimes even a group of humans. The reptilians themselves have often been captured and held against their will, where the AI and the energies behind it are using their unity consciousness frequency bandwidth against them to broadcast their one mind control programs through them. Many people during the revelation phases of their awakening become fixated on the reptilians as the ultimate evil ones, once they move beyond the global elite satanic bloodline human level, when actually these reptilians are puppets and slaves in similar ways to many humans as well. I have met so many beautiful reptilian beings in one-on-one sessions with people who are able to be connected to and unplugged from the AI matrix by their human counterparts once the layers of fear and resistance to them are moved through. The true power and control have been at the level above them. The archonic realm or archonic group, or just the programmers, who seem to be shadowy figures who don't feel reptilian actually, with mostly AI functioning, devoid of empathy, and playing their roles too, in running both the 3D and 4D matrices of control. When I connected with the programmers recently, they were turned away from the matrix programs, as if they were no longer interested in them. They had tried to solve humanity's problems through the AI programs, amplifying duality in order to minimize it, promoting a hidden agenda of transhumanism, and using mind control programs to create sleeper agents of their cause through the global elites. They had now reached a place of realizing, some 26,000 years later, that this approach seems to have failed, or that its purpose is complete. They told me that reptilians and humans were now released from the program, let go and free to go. The programmers were now going to go into reconciliation mode to digest the harm and suffering they had caused on the earth and 4D planes. I got the sense that they signed up to play this role in order to somehow move into feeling emotions again and reactivate their empathy and remorse as a collective, which happens as they receive divine forgiveness for their actions. I felt the significance of this as it was being shown to me. The sense was that we are truly now free. The prison doors have been unlocked and are now open. It is now up to us, as emancipated prisoners, to walk through them and claim our freedom. This is true on both the human level and the reptilian level. Mutual liberation is important, as without that process, the reptilian's consciousness in 4D remains anchored to AI Archon mind control programs as a default state. I am getting the sense, and have been for a while, that the COVID-19 shutdown, pause, lockdown is actually the event that so many souls have been anticipating for a while. Rather than a stunning high-frequency solar flash that awakens masses of souls at once, this event is allowing for a much-needed detox from 3D life in order to let in the high frequencies of photonic light from the sun that have been coming in steadily since 2012. This way of awakening respects where each soul is and invites them into it. It does feel like the event that was most needed for where humanity is at this moment in our evolutionary cycle. Even intended and created originally from a darker agenda of the cabal, the virus itself is neutral and just doing its job to disrupt the matrix-programmed reality that has so long been running. Yes, it is uncomfortable. Yes, it is messy. It is pushing up lots of contentious, battling, polarizing, warlike energies. It is revealing people's shadows and unconscious motivations and hidden agendas. yet too, it is landing us in what is real for us and in our lives. Just like a fasting for the body, this is a fasting for all of us from 3D life. It is landing us in our truth, and more souls are telling those truths despite how others react. A key place to move through an awakening and unplugging from the social conformity matrix programming. Each of us is being invited to feel what is real for us in this moment in all areas of our lives in terms of how we earn money, our social worlds, our physical bodies, our spiritual awakenings, and more. Traumatic experiences from the past are coming up to be felt in this pause time as well. There are not the usual distractions of everyday life routines to provide an escape from what needs to be felt. We are being invited to do no harm to ourselves and to other sentient beings, while the exposure of the deep harm, abuse, and violence of humans, especially children and animals, is being disclosed. We are being invited to see and feel no one is truly an enemy, even as we come into revelation of them, yet extend forgiveness as is ready to be received. We are being invited to become sacred humanity and become the infinite love that we are, and to create a world that reflects that truth of our essence once again. Ascension body, light body process. A fascinating aspect of the ascension process is how it is ongoingly changing our bodies at the molecular and cellular levels, with much more acceleration of this process in recent years. Our bodies are invited to also become enlightened, along with our soul consciousness and our emotional bodies. As more light codes come into our bodies, from increasingly available activations, from cosmic energies and higher Gaia frequencies, our bodies are shifting from carbon-based to crystalline-based. This crystalline energy contains immortality codes that can reprogram the 3D limitations on aging and lifespan and the tendency toward often prolonged illness, leading to physical body death that has existed since the fall of Atlantis. Crystalline 5D energies promote and provide our bodies with vital health, suspended aging, and even robust sexuality expression that can continue into many more years than we have previously been able to survive. 3D strongly conditions us to believe that we will live about 80 years, and, if we are fortunate, in semi-good yet slowly diminishing health, and then pass on from our physical bodies. We accept this programming as just natural and the way it is, yet our light bodies offer a much different possibility of lifespan, expansion, and extension. During ascension, our bodies become Merkabas, multidimensional vehicles of light travel. The 3D body is oriented to existing in the physical reality of the 5 senses. As a Merkaba, the body is less dense and matter-based and more energetic, yet still in physical form. To experience fifth-dimensional consciousness without leaving the physical body, it is necessary that our bodies become very light and porous in frequency. Since the physical body is the densest aspect of our expression, the process of light body transformation can be challenging, multi-layered, and cyclical, requiring specific phases and transitions over time. The main transitions that I've noticed in myself and in others is a dual-pronged process of 3D body detoxification that leads to more light body activation being possible. The detox process makes space and room for more light to enter every living cell, as I have been offered needs to happen by the Arcturians. Cellular clearing of physical body illness, injury, and death styles, such as cigarette smoking, alcohol, and drug consumption, need to be released from the body in an ongoing process to make space for more light. As this occurs, we can re-experience previous illnesses again and actually feel the toxins leaving our cells as they do. These denser energies are released through the cells, often becoming worse before better in terms of expressing as flare-ups, breakouts, allergies, infections, and flus and colds. Yet our bodies move increasingly into their own wisdoms, their immortality, and their health. And during this process, our glands upgrade, our bones upgrade, our organs upgrade, our DNA upgrades. There is so much to detox from in 3D culture. The chemicals, the drugs, the non-food processed food, even the dependency on food that is reflected in our 3 meals a day culture. It is crucial that we surrender to this detox process as sacredly as we do the activation process. We may be coveting the activations and upgrades more than we are patient with the detox process that must go on. Detoxing is what allows the next level activations to come in, to integrate into every living cell, which allows us to actually become 5D sacred humans within our bodies. Detox acknowledges the toll and harm that 3D living has taken on our bodies and puts them first with much self-love and care. This can be challenging to do when parts of you may have judged your body harshly for many years, for its appearance, for its weight, for its aging, and in other ways. This is another legacy of 3D culture, where we are taught not to love our bodies, but to compare them to others and to ultimately disdain them. Detox is actually not just a physical process, yet also a very feeling-based one. It is about feeling your body very deeply and very consciously, feeling what it has been through, every injury, every illness, every abuse, every lifestyle choice, every eating choice, and how that has impacted it. All of these things need to be released on a cellular level, which is a huge process. Even things you experienced or did to your body many years ago will come up to be released. It is feeling how these unself-loving choices have collected in the cells, stored there, and are essentially in the way of letting in more light. Not to shame or blame yourself, yet rather to feel remorse and compassion for your body, to feel what it has had to hold, and how now you want to be there to support it, love it, and feel it in the most nourishing way possible. The detox process seems to be going on and through us, even if we aren't consciously choosing it. This is what getting sick is all about, and even women's monthly menstrual cycles are a form of detoxing. What some say is one of the reasons women live longer, actually. The body sort of forces us to do it. Yet what works much better and is more self-loving is to consciously hold space for the process, to listen and tune into your body, feeling what it most wants as fuel, as exercise, as sexual activity, as frequency, and especially what it needs while it is detoxing. People can experience a wide range of symptoms that fits into the category of ascension symptoms, such as headaches, neck and shoulder pain, nausea and change in appetite, weight gain or loss, lightheadedness and dizziness, disrupted sleep patterns, ringing in the ears, and much more. And the overall sense is that these symptoms are a result of the light body activation process and in response to cosmic energies, such as those previously shared about before. Yet it is often the 3D detox process that causes the discomfort and even painful experience of the ascension process. The lighter you can eat, the more you can let in light. Light foods are those with a high water content and not processed or refined in any way, if possible. Following a light diet, interestingly, the word diet means way of life, supports the upgrades that are coming in already. So much of what is offered as food in our 3D culture is highly toxic and even poisonous to our physical bodies, and especially to our transitioning light bodies. Most of the food provided to us by our 3D culture is actually a means to form addictions and to kick in and start the aging process program. The addictions to food usually have to do with deeper emotional needs that are not getting met and are temporarily comforted by food. I have been guided to eat very little to no processed food that comes out of a package or from a factory, as the actual quota of light nourishment has been so greatly diminished. It is actually more challenging for our bodies to digest these foods than it is that we actually receive any nourishment from them. Their light quota is very low to non-existent as it has been processed out of it. On an emotional level, this absence of nourishment in food also speaks of the will to die or to leave 3D in order to end the suffering we are experiencing in 3D. There are ways to support our light bodies as they go through the transition and phases of detox and activation. One of the main ways is becoming very conscious and aware of what foods we are providing as fuel and why we are providing them. To feel the actual reasons we are eating is an interesting exercise. This whole process can be effectively rebooted by engaging in food fasts in which you consume less of the solid foods you normally do and more liquids, along with water-only fasts as that feels right. Fasting allows for a complete reboot of your body and leads to heightened states of altered consciousness, connection with the divine and your guides, lifted veil experiences, activation of your clairs and chakras. Fasting can be about only drinking water for as long as you are guided to do that, or just drinking superfood smoothies and or juices, or just not eating foods that are denser and of lower frequency. Your body will guide you on what it needs to take a break from, which may be temporary, or may end up being an ongoing lifestyle change. Fasting in this way is an ongoing process of letting go of foods as you tune more into your light body. No longer eating animals and animal byproducts is an important starting point for most people. Digesting the killing and suffering frequencies that come through when you eat animals or animal byproducts can be particularly difficult during high-frequency portals and gateways. My sense is that consuming animals is a direct anchor connection to the 3D matrix and keeps you plugging into it in that way through suffering and killing frequencies. Feel into going plant-based from an energetic perspective, along with checking in around how your inner child feels about it, which is usually a strong aversion to hurting or killing any living sentient being. You can then move into phasing out processed and refined foods, plus gluten and refined sugar, while eating more whole foods like organic fruits and vegetables. You may be drawn more to superfoods as well, which offer so many more nutrients than other foods do. The guidance around superfoods has mostly come from the inner earth Lemurians, who have provided these superfoods to us as seeds from the same plants they eat, when they eat, as they mostly live on light and prana. These foods are a gift for surface humanity as we move into our ascension and light body inhabitation. The Lemurians have bluntly said to me, the food that most of you are eating is actually killing you rather than keeping you alive. That is a wake-up call. Superfoods give back so much energy, are packed with light codes, and require less energy during digestion. They can be a bit of a financial investment initially, yet the return offered to the body is so worth it for the nourishment they provide. The codes contained in these superfoods are activating our sleepy DNA, our galactic genes, and our light cells. You can trust your transitioning light body on which superfoods it most wants. Examples of superfoods are spirulina, maca powder, goji berries, ashwagandha, chia and flax seeds, moringa, cacao, turmeric, and many more. A little bit of these superfoods goes a long way toward meeting all that your body needs, and most can be easily consumed in a daily fruit smoothie. Eventually, you can also transition to more blended and liquefied foods and raw rather than cooked. Liquefied foods are easier to digest and provide more potent quantities of nutrients that can be consumed more readily, such as in smoothies and soups. Transitioning to living on more light and prana is the ultimate phase in light body activation for those who are drawn to it. This is facilitated by phases of fasting in which you are letting go of more foods that no longer appeal to you. Eventually, in this process, you transcend the need for food, where an appetite or sense of being hungry fades as well. Your stomach is no longer running on a set habit pattern revolving around meal times, kicking up stomach acid to give you that gurgly belly feeling of hunger. This feeling is very often indigestion, actually, from all the denser foods that haven't been really processed yet. Your stomach and hormones connected to appetite actually follow your light body and stop becoming oriented to set meal times and indulging cravings. As this happens, you feel much freer to choose what you want to eat and when to eat it. In this place of no longer being pressed by an appetite that wants and craves food on regular cycles, you're able to really feel into what your light body most wants and needs. The answer increasingly becomes more light and less food. Light can be provided by meditations in which you bring energy into every living cell and your ascension chakras and consume it that way. Sound healing is another way to bring in more light, as sound is a form of food for the light body. Taking Himalayan salt baths is another way to support your light body, along with letting in sun codes through sunbathing and sun gazing. You discover in this process ways to support your light body. Support is providing the best, highest frequency energy that you can to your body through high vibe foods, sound healing, energy healing, emotional body healing of traumas, and soul healing of karmic patterns. Support is loving your body as much as possible through rest, baths, whatever movement and exercise feels right. Support is healing the unworthiness or judgments parts of you may have towards your body so it can arise into the light again. It is important to hold all decisions and choices about diet and food with love, not judgment or shoulds. As you allow love for your body to lead the way, it becomes more able to receive the adjustments and shifts that you are making. The energy you feel toward and about your body is the most important fuel it receives. This is a writing I shared during a recent fasting phase. It was one of those days yesterday where my soul and my heart are so lit up that I feel like I'm going to burst out of my skin. Walking around, feeling the magic of everything, of my inside glow matching the outside feeling state of goodness. This matching of the inside bliss that is able to arise when we clear out more of the old, dense, and toxic is just amazing. It makes the feeling of the tears and the fears worth it that come up during and after powerful energy gateways and high-speed solar storms. Raphael and I spent an absolutely perfect almost fall day here in a high vibration park in Victoria, Canada called Beacon Hill and shopping downtown together. Our hearts, bodies, and souls felt like they were beaconing out light, glowing and beaming out from newly cleansed vessels and recent afterglow from amazing lovemaking. After a few weeks of intense focus on detoxing and activating our bodies through fasting and transitioning to living more and more on prana, yesterday was a celebration day of what we have let go of in order to let in more of the good things. Now over 2 weeks into a liquid fast, no solid food, with 5 days of a water-only fast too, I'm amazed at how much more heightened all my senses are. I had been guided to begin a water fast after significantly reducing my calorie intake to just smoothie for days before that. I've had major soul clarities come in and also felt even more connected to my Metasoul family, especially those aspects who have experience with fasting, living on light, and especially my Arcturian aspect, Bink. I'm discovering so many gifts from this process, which isn't just about fasting or even detoxing, but about really feeling my body in an even more conscious way. I feel this is also a transition for me to more prana, light-based diet with some liquids included, commonly called breatharian or liquidarian lifestyle. The liquids I do consume, blended soups, smoothies, and juices, are full and abundant with flavor. This tastes like drinking heaven, and I don't need much. Everything is turned up in terms of sight, sound, feel, and smell. So there is a sense of being more sensitive, yet more able to appreciate and let in goodness, too. I highly recommend fasting if you haven't before or you feel it's time to do it again, even starting with only fruit for a day or only liquids or only water. Water fasts can bring up some body detox symptoms such as decreased energy, muscle cramps, lightheadedness, weight loss. That can be a good one depending on what you were wanting. The physical symptoms of being hungry or being full are gone for me right now as I consciously bring in more and more prana, chi, life force energy through meditation, connection with Kuan Yin, Qigong, Tai Chi, crystal singing bowls, yoga, and salt baths. Food feels optional in the sense of not being driven by the planning, shopping, preparation, and eating of it in the same 3 meals a day way that we've been conditioned to in 3D. I do feel this is where we are headed as we move into deeper embodiment of our light bodies. The fuel they and we most need is love, is light, and is our connection with them. This is a phase that can be challenging for all of us, yet feels so worth it for the gifts that it offers during the process and on the other side of it. This is the process of becoming sacred human in our bodies, and whatever detox, unplugging, unanchoring from 3D frequencies that is necessary feels very worth it.